He was always interested in distilling everything to its essentials and the minimum decorative expression to simplify it, and that became stronger and therefore more. That was what he believed in.
Mies and his contemporaries wanted to establish a new architectural style to represent modern times based on 20th century materials: plate glass, industrial steel, reinforced concrete.
And Mies appreciated the idea that if he and his colleagues could get it right, they could have an impact on architecture for thousands of years, equivalent to the way the Greek and Egyptian and Roman builders had had an impact on architecture for thousands of years.
By the mid-1920s, Mies was one of the leading avant-garde architects in Germany, commissioned to create structures like the German Pavilion for the 1929 Barcelona Exposition. In 1930, Mies became director of the Bauhaus School of Design in Berlin, and over the next several years, continued to develop groundbreaking projects in Europe. In 1937, Mies accepted an offer from the Armour Institute of Technology in Chicago to be the head of its Department of Architecture, and he emigrated to the U.S.
Mies was already very well known, and so he began to attract excellent students from around the United States and from around the world to study with him. And as Mies observed, with 2 good students a year, I can change architecture.
When the Armour Institute merged with the Lewis Institute in 1940, forming the Illinois Institute of Technology, Mies was commissioned to design the expanded campus.
He developed a system for this campus, a modular grid, which was one of his favorite methods. And he placed the buildings in such a way that they would be creating nice open spaces and distances between them and all of that.
The jewel in the crown, S.R. Crown Hall, which houses a school of architecture, and was Mies's first major success in creating a clear span space.
I think that building and that experience gave him the interest and the long-time pursuit in his further career to do buildings that would have large universal space, as he called it.
The first residences that Mies created in the U.S. in 1949 were the Promontory Apartments in Chicago, his first skyscraper, and the first tall building to exhibit its construction materials. Not long after, in 1951, Mies finished 2 very different high-rise apartment buildings on the Chicago lakefront. The
860, 880 Lakeshore Drive apartments are all steel frame and steel mullions that run up and down the buildings. And then 2 years later, he did 900, 910 Lakeshore Drive, which looks similar, but they have aluminum facade and central air conditioning, which 860, 880 didn't have. My point here is each step was an improvement along the way.
In 1951, Mies completed one of his most spectacular creations, Farnsworth House, situated on the banks of the Fox River in Plano, Illinois. The house was commissioned by Dr. Edith Farnsworth, a prominent Chicago-based physician, as a vacation home and weekend retreat. Today, the house is owned and operated as a museum by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Even before it was built, the architectural importance of Farnsworth House was recognized. In 1947, a model of the house was included in an exhibition of Mies's work at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. The exhibition at MoMA led to another major commission for Mies, the Seagram Building in the center of Manhattan, which opened in 1958.
The person most involved in making sure that Mies got that project, Phyllis Lambert, just turned 90. She's a key figure in the world of modern architecture. And she convinced her father, who was the president of the Seagram Company, that he should do not an ordinary building, but an exquisite building. And she saw to it that an exquisite building was done.
The building was noted for its amber-toned windows and public plaza. Mies used the Seagram Building as a prototype for later high-rise office towers, most notably the Chicago Federal Center, which includes the Dirksen and Kluzinski Federal Buildings and the Loop Post Office. Mies's last work was a new National Gallery in Berlin, a project that was overseen by his grandson, who by then had come to America to study and work with Mies. It was commissioned in the mid-60s by the West German government and completed in 1968.
The Altes Museum in what was then East Berlin, when Mies got this commission, was by the German architect Karl Friedrich Schinkel, who Mies admired enormously. And Schinkel was a very great architect. So he's building, in a sense, the divided German, the divided Berlin equivalent to this building that is a fabulous building that he admires so much.
Mies died in Chicago on August 17, 1969, after a long battle with esophageal cancer.
For me, his legacy is incredible, concentrated effort, lifelong effort in developing his work and improving what he was doing. His effort was to be timeless. He sort of belongs to the ages.